Hey. Hi, Virgos. Let's give you guys a little bonus. Thank you guys for bearing with me on this very crazy week. You guys know I was moving, and you guys are just so amazing and so kind. So thank you, everybody. We'll get all settled in better throughout this next upcoming week. But the big push is mostly wrapped up now. So we get the Hierophant, we get the Ten of Swords, we have a Three of Swords, and we have an Empress. Oh, somebody chose wrong. Somebody chose wrong, and he knows it. I don't know if we have a masculine who is having like a very spiritual awakening right now, if he's found some internal peace and calm, but he is very much aware that not only did he break Virgo's heart, but Virgo was the person he should have been married to. Okay, super blunt message here. This is him getting a lot of downloads. Let's just focus on, that could be a Taurus. Who are you? Star, Queen of Cups, Six of Cups, Two of Pentacles, Seven of Cups, Four of Cups. So for whatever reason, this character, he either maybe he met another soulmate who admittedly was really nice. A Queen of Cups is lovely, super loving. I can't help but think that this person met Virgo and Virgo was their equal. But then they met somebody else who might have been a little bit older than them, maybe a little bit wealthy or something. And that person treated them really nice also. And admittedly, there was a bond. There was something special here. But they somehow, even though Virgo was their wish fulfillment, some other like lovely energy who entered their life became this person that they were like, well, man, maybe I don't know. Who should I pick? And I think that I feel like somebody was older than them. Like they could have been like 45 and this person was like 60 and she had, class and wealth and all of that. But it's weird because they felt like, I can't help but say that they kept looking like they were suddenly feeling more immature, or like maybe they wanted to feel immature. Maybe this is somebody who wanted to be taken care of a little bit. And then it was like, wow, I could either be with an amazing person that's an empress and run an empire and actually stand up and be an emperor, or I could be kind of taken care of by somebody that's wealthy, a little older than me, and maybe treats me real nice. Gosh, I don't know what I want. Let me tell you, they regret. If that's what went through their head, they have got regrets. Also, if somebody like seduced them away from Virgo, I think that there was a big old illusion there. Let me ask, who was that Queen of Cups really? Did you meet somebody who promised you all kinds of stuff and then didn't give you any of the things that supposedly you were going to have? We have the Tower, we have the Nine of Swords, we have the King of Wands, we have the Five of Cups. I think that it might have been that the person who lured them away from Virgo, and I do think that this person had money. This feels like a feminine with a lot of money lured this, I'm going to say, very weak-willed individual who was lured by the sense of money and was admittedly treated nicely, but they were lured in by some other feminine, that Queen of Cups, who maybe gave them this story of like a weird damsel in distress kind of thing, but in turn actually crashed and burned their life, all the while pretending like, maybe the trade-off was money. Maybe there's a fancy car that he drives or something. Maybe this is somebody who has wealth. But I will say this, it's like they got pulled in and were told to believe that you need to help me. You need to help me. And I actually think that they would have been a sucky partner for Virgo anyway. Because if they have a need for money, first off, and they have, which is funny because Virgo's the one actually who has financial success. But if they had wounds where they wanted somebody to actually take care of them and they couldn't have been Virgo's equal, Virgo's partner, I would say it is Virgo didn't get left by this person. Not at all. Virgo was protected from ending up with this person. This person, I think they were a hot mess, and Virgo probably didn't see that. Virgo probably didn't see how messed up this situation was, because if they had met Virgo and Virgo was amazing, but then somebody else comes along, and because of the allure of money and somebody who treats them like a kid almost, it's kind of like, I don't know, this is like a sugar mama. If they really wanted a sugar mama instead of to be a partner, then this person didn't really have a whole lot of like personal pride in being, like, who wants to be taken care of? Don't you want to be somebody's partner and not be somebody's like doll that they dress up? I don't know. To me, that's gross. But sorry, that's just my opinion shining through in this. It doesn't mean I'm right. It's just I'm getting kind of sugar mama vibes off of this. And that says that's because they were actually more wounded than what Virgo would have known. Virgo expected a partner and they wouldn't have had it even if Virgo had ended up with this, we'll call them the King of Wands, right? If this King of Wands wanted to be taken care of, wanted a sugar mama, and was that quick to be like, wow, well, I mean, Virgo was my wish come true. But on the other hand, this other lady has money. She's a sugar mama. And I can kind of feel immature. But also she gives me the damsel in distress where she needs my help. She needs me. Then that feeds some kind of like maybe even like the guilt factor that, a mother figure puts on him, and now he recreates that in a relationship. Like, she tells me that she really needs me, so therefore I should be with her, and then she showers me with like attention and tells me how great I am. If those were the dynamics that he needed because he has his own wounds, instead of wanting to go out and be a partner to somebody and work shoulder to shoulder to build an empire with Virgo, thank God they didn't wind up with Virgo. That's all I can say on this one. Virgo definitely would not have ended up with the right partner if he had chosen to be with Virgo, because Virgo would have probably been saddled with somebody who secretly had so many wounds that they were going to need a lot of like extra attention. They weren't really going to be a partner. They weren't really going to be what Virgo needed. Now, as it is, though, he's the one reflecting on all of this. He's the one saying, I ended things, in a devastating manner, and I ruined things with Virgo. I ended things horribly with Virgo, and I betrayed Virgo. And Virgo was the true empress here. So let me put it this way. For what it's worth, man, this person knows Virgo was worth so much more. Virgo is the best thing they ever came across. Virgo is the most powerful and the most like elegant and the most sophisticated and the most resilient and the most able person they've ever met. Virgo is a person that they truly respect for what it's worth. Hermit sideways, Two of Swords. And all they can say is, and I will never get a chance with that Virgo again. They are on a serious like reflection mode. I don't know if they're still dealing with the Queen of Cups. My impression is probably not, since they come across as single, but they're also saying there's no way I could ever even get Virgo back. There's no way. I betrayed Virgo, left Virgo for somebody else, picked somebody instead of Virgo, and it was somebody who was a familiar routine. They damsel in distress. They maybe seemed like they had some kind of wealth or superiority to me, and then would give me some kind of like easier life so long as I fed the role that they wanted me to play, which was they were supposedly the damsel in the distress, and then I could be this pretense of being propped up to be like this the big man that protects them, instead of being with Virgo, where I would have actually been somebody that would have been a partner and been powerful and been building. So they see all this. They see their own wounds. They see their own patterns. Look, with the Knight of Cups here, this person, they think all the time about Virgo. That's it. That's where their mind is. it's because they've had this huge awakening. They know exactly why they picked some other partner. They know exactly why they picked it wasn't even a karmic. What it was is they are karmic. They had a pattern that made them feel good about themselves, or they recreated a pattern that they were familiar with. Somebody tells me this is what I need to do for them, and then as long as I do that, then they tell me I'm great. And that was what the trade-off was. Virgo wouldn't have offered that. Virgo would have been somebody that they could have like grown up though and been a partner with and had their own personal autonomy, and their own ideas and things would have been, like they and Virgo would have talked together and planned together and built equally together. But that's not what they were really ready for. This is not about somebody who picked some other hotter person than Virgo. It's not about somebody who was like, oh, I don't love Virgo enough. It was more they personally were karmic. So they chose a pattern that would make them, that would satisfy what they were seeking. And it wasn't to be an adult. That's not what they were seeking. They were seeking, a synthetic form of grown-upness, where there's lots of good accolades and stuff, even though you didn't really do anything, instead of genuinely building. Basically, they wanted a participation trophy. There, that's the best way I could say that. Okay, let's just get anything else. So they think all the time about Virgo. They think about riding back into Virgo's life. They think about trying to talk to Virgo. They think about what it would have been like to be with Virgo. Are you totally single now? Is that why all of this is laid out this way? Is that why we're seeing this? Yeah, 10 of Wands in the reverse. It's the burden of this error that they made in their life. This is somebody who could have dated Virgo 15, 25 years ago. It was a moment in their life where they took a left turn, and it was the greatest mistake of their life. But you know what? Maybe it wasn't at all, because that's who they were at the time. They weren't ready to be a grown-up. They weren't ready to be with an empress. They weren't ready to build an empire. They wanted somebody else who already had an empire to kind of take care of them a little bit and do that participation trophy kind of relationship where they could feel great about themselves, even though they weren't really playing like a grown-up's role. Okay, let me see. 2 of Wands in the reverse and the moon. Virgo doesn't have a clue about this, and Virgo's not hung up on this. Awesome. There's none of that. Virgo's not at a crossroads. Virgo doesn't know that this person still thinks about them. I think, if anything, Virgo's probably like, I haven't thought about them in years. Virgo's over here in a really good energy. They're over here with the Ace of Wands. I mean, Virgo's in a really happy chapter of their life. So in that one respect, why does this story even matter? Because it's a heads up to Virgo. This person is starting to remove some obstacles because they think all the time about talking to Virgo. This person's going to pop up in Virgo's life. This is just the heads up to Virgo, that somebody who maybe Virgo cried about once upon a time, maybe they were devastated over the fact that this person chose somebody else instead of Virgo. That individual is showing back up in this fictional story for this fictional character. And we have a 5 of Wands. This is not so that Virgo spends a ton of time ruminating, but the reason we exercise, or the reason we do, obstacle courses, or the reason we do anything is to, become more physically fit. So if mentally or emotionally, like if Virgo were to contemplate, like if this particular person showed back up in my life, how would I even digest any of that at this point in time? It's a little bit just like, so Virgo can contemplate like who they are today, where they're at with life. If there were a hypothetical conversation coming up, would Virgo want anything to do with them? It's also to prepare, like, if this person comes back in for passion with me, what would my response be? If this person comes back in to say, I'm sorry, what would my response be? If this person comes back in to offer me something with the 6 of Pentacles, what would I actually want? And at the end of the day, it might be so Virgo can be like, honestly, I wouldn't want anything. I can just say no thanks, or I can just be silent, or I don't need to respond. It might just be that this whole story here is just so that Virgo can decide ahead of time, Queen of Swords, where their boundaries are, so that it doesn't throw them for a loop and make anything confusing. It really is just so that Virgo can make a choice before the time even comes to make a choice. Because we do have the Chariot. They are on their way to Virgo. And they seem to be getting more revved up and more intent on coming toward Virgo. And the reason is because this was the biggest mistake of their life. It is the thing that they will carry with them through this life and many more if this doesn't get resolved, if they don't ever get a chance to talk to Virgo again. This is all because they've recently had this huge awakening. This is a person who, remember, they're the hermit sideways. They're somebody who doesn't believe they'll ever get another chance with Virgo, but it's like they still have to talk to Virgo. They just have to. And it's because they have, in this case, they've had an enlightenment. I don't believe that they're still in that other connection at this point, you know, that soulmate connection with that Queen of Cups. They did learn that lesson, though, with that soulmate, and that's sometimes what soulmates are. I would just say this. The person that they chose instead of Virgo, because of the karmic energy that they themselves had and the lesson that they themselves had to learn, it wasn't a lesson to learn with Virgo. It was a lesson to learn with somebody else. That is the right person for them to have been with at that time, because that's where they needed to learn that lesson. But the thing is, just because the lesson is learned doesn't mean that there's anything more between themselves and Virgo at this point. Let me just ask, is there anything else that could be of benefit in Virgo's life or their life? Well, Page of Swords and Three of Wands, yes. It might do Virgo a huge dose of good to hear this person say, my biggest regret is that I couldn't possibly have been with somebody that I respected as much as you, because I would have had to step up. I would have had to be ready to be in a genuine grown-up relationship. And I actually still needed somebody to take care of me and make me feel special. That I chose that instead because I didn't have what it would have taken to stand with an empress. You know, that is a huge compliment to Virgo, not an insult. And maybe Virgo, it would go a long way for Virgo to actually hear that from them, to understand them better, to learn something about where their head was actually at, and then allow Virgo the closure so Virgo can move on. Not every time that somebody wants to come back in is it because it's like, oh, well, let's get back together. I don't really see Virgo taking this person back. I see Virgo finally getting the compliment, which is, I get it now. I get why you couldn't have been with me, and I get why you regret and will always regret the fact that you blew it with me, but it really, we couldn't have been good together anyway. But I get it. You actually did really think the world of me, yet you chose somebody else. That's a hard thing to wrap one's head around, but in this story, we can see the underlying reasons why. I'll put a trigger warning on this and think about releasing it. I don't know. This was a tough one. All right, you guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up. Bye.